I've been scarred and I've been bruised. I have learned just what to do. I need to leave my past behind me. I need to look to the future. No matter what will come, no matter what I've done, I know just what to do. And that's all because of you.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ms Z Mavumengwana and this is Tingo. Thank you so much to the people that are new on the platform. Thank you. I know we sound like stuck parrots when you repeat this thank you line, but I will never tire, from expressing gratitude of what it means for me when I see the channel expanding. It's a very validating and very affirming experience to think this impact that I think I have truly is something that you guys agree with and that you want other people to also benefit from. That's really beautiful to me. As much as I've never met any of you, this is the only way where I experience reciprocation in our relationship, and it's really, really important to me. So thank you. Thank you to the people that liked us enough to stay. Thank you to the people that told other people about us. We truly, truly appreciate the fact that we are growing together. This is Tingo. Tingo is joining us today. As you can see on the screen, already the topic necessitates the presence of Tingo. So we've got a difficult, roughly 20 minutes coming up. And the topic we're doing today, it's the recovery from sexual trauma. So yes, grab a glass of water if you need to, be in private if you need to, or defer it to watch later if you need to. It might be a little bit heavy. The topic is structured to benefit all survivors of sexual violence, be it was a childhood event, be it's a recent, very acute event, was it multiple times, was it multiple perpetrators, whatever the nuances of your experience, we're talking to you for surviving that ordeal, and we're talking to your courage and your bravery to sit through such a discussion, because something that is very, very common in trauma as a way of dealing is avoidance. It's just to not listen to anything that's got to do with trauma, to not watch anything that's got to do with trauma. The experience itself feels like I've been exposed to this unpleasant experience already. I don't want anything else that will re-expose me or make me think of it, etc., etc. So bear with it, please. Do stay. It will be uncomfortable, maybe not pleasant, but I'm hoping it will be therapeutic to you and aid you in your recovery. And thank you for listening. I really, really appreciate that. And we'll try and cushion it with grace as we move through your experience. I deliberately picked recovery because I'm a strong believer in exactly that. There's a whole lot you can talk about in trauma, but I want to talk about recovery specifically because I want to reinforce that you can recover. That's the most important thing that I'm trying to say in this video, that recovery is possible, but most importantly, I want to paint a picture of what recovery actually looks like, because a whole lot that is also common in trauma is thinking that you're recovering incorrectly or that you're not recovering. And actually the odd thing is that when people paint this evidence as to why they think they're not recovering, it's exactly what recovery is supposed to look like. And first things first, that I'm going to tell you, it looks messy. If it's messy, you're recovering. That's the one, that is the one. I think first thing that comes top of my mind, if I'm talking recovery from trauma, that I want to start there and dispel it immediately, is something that you wouldn't typically expect a traumatized person to experience, because there's such an explicit, overt evidence that this wasn't you. You did nothing wrong. You wouldn't expect this emotion to be there at all, because the violence is so clear that there was a perpetrator and there was you who didn't invite this at all. But I want to start addressing the guilt that comes with sustaining a sexual trauma and explain and release people from that guilt as to why that guilt is completely misplaced. Guilt in sexual trauma is so prevalent. It shouldn't be there. I don't think I can begin this topic without starting with reinforcing the fact that you did nothing wrong. This is especially so for people where the perpetrator wasn't held accountable. And this is what always happens when the accountability is floating around. This is the beauty of a justice system that actually works, because there is witnesses to bear witness to who was the actual perpetrator. And it boxes the wrongdoer in the wrongdoer's box and separates them from society. And then it becomes provable to everyone who is witnessing it that This one did nothing wrong, that one was wrong. But with the reality of our justice system, that doesn't always happen. Successful convictions don't always happen. And that has led to people not bothering with taking their sexual trauma, to the justice system, which means accountability was never issued to be held by the person who is responsible for it. In sexual violence, there's only one person who's a wrongdoer, and that person's the perpetrator. That person's the perpetrator. The person that sustained the trauma did nothing wrong. Nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean absolutely nothing. I don't care the age. I don't care the circumstance. I don't care the surrounding and confounding factors. They did nothing wrong. Dressed or naked, drunk or sober, young or old, dating or not dating. If a person sustains a rape, they did nothing wrong. Nothing. By nothing, I mean nothing. Please play nothing over and over and over until it registers that you cannot ask for sexual trauma. You cannot. Asking would mean the consent was issued. And the whole point of rape is that you had no consent. Why the guilt then, if this is so explicit? And the guilt comes from the fact that nobody ever took accountability. And I'd like to express this to families of people that suffered this trauma, that it doesn't even need to be a court. It just needs to be stated overtly, especially in front of witnesses, that we believe you. You did nothing wrong. This is the person that did something wrong. This is especially true if the perpetrator also belongs in the same family. Then it starts to be gray in terms of what do the others think around me, because life is likely to continue normally in the family home and in society. Other people still like them. Other people still talk to them. You're not sure why you're the one that's only got animosity between them. Are you imagining that they're evil? Then there's a whole lot of gray. And if accountability is floating, you always want to own some of it. You always want to own some of it. So I encourage a family member, call a family meeting, call the elders, structure a mini court in your living room if you gotta. But please make sure it is stated that we believe you, that you did nothing wrong, and hold the person that did wrong accountable by whatever means of sanction that apply to that family system. That's reason number one for guilt. The second thing in guilt is the fact that trauma typically seems to isolate just you. It's not a universal experience. It's not like, okay, the weather, everybody experiences rain. It's raining for everyone. It's not just unique to me. Because this seems to have singled you out, particularly you. There are many girls in the world and there are many boys in the world. So you know it's not because I'm a girl, because not all girls have been victimized. You know it's not a boy thing because not other boys have gone through this experience. And if something has an otherness to it, you're inclined to believe there must be something specifically about me that invited it, because how come it did not happen to XYZ? What is it about my behavior, my being, that invited that? Why me and not the other person? And the odd thing of that is that because trauma comes with avoidance, people don't discuss it amongst each other to then release each other from this shame that it wasn't just you. And another permission I'd like to release people from that shackle is that the perpetrator chose you. It's the perpetrator. This has got nothing to do with you. A rapist picks who to rape. There is no likelier victim than the other. Are the factors that make people vulnerable? Yes, factor number one, being around a rapist. That's vulnerability number one. You can be naked in front of males. You can be naked in front of people that aren't rapists, and there's no rape that's going to take place because rapists aren't there. And you can be fully clothed, sober, cautious, and very protective, gated security and all. If there's a rapist there, a rape is likely to happen. There is nothing in your body, in your being, that invited sexual violence unto you. It's not how you look. It's not what you did. This is especially so for people that sustain their sexual violence at a young age. Because there's so much grooming that takes place. And because rape isn't always violent. And because children don't have a sex vocabulary. they seem to think my being silent because it wasn't clear enough means, was it that bad? It also means to them, it removes the right for them to disclose it later in the future. It's like if it was so bad, you would have instantly said something about it. But the grooming is so subtle. It's a 2 rand coin, go buy some sweets. It's go with me to the store. It's come watch TV with me. It's play with your hair. Then hair goes to boob. And there's always minor discomfort that isn't clear enough for you to go report because it's ambiguous. That's how rapists get away with their tactics, because they're very ambiguous. It's something that is inappropriate and never bad enough to necessitate reporting. So there's nothing to report. You just shrug it and continue with your life. And then tomorrow it descends to, touch on my bum. But it was like they were pulling up your jeans and fixing you. There's still nothing to report per se. It's just discomfort, and discomfort is in rape. So you feel like people will think you're the one that's over-exaggerating, or you're too sexualized, to think somebody that's helping you up with your jeans, and it becomes your word against theirs with no witnessable act of violence to go report. And when they eventually completely violate the boundary, the guilt makes them feel like this prior silence when you knew something was wrong made you an accomplice. It's like you've been partnering up, and that bullshit isn't true. There was no partnering up of anything. Prior silence, whatever your reason was, does not remove your future permission to disclose your rape when you want to whom you want to. 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, 25 years later, whenever you're ready. People don't get to rape you and then dictate how you narrate your story as well. Nobody's allowed to take that much away from you. Your voice is your voice. Your life is your life. You tell your story when and how you want to. Remove the guilt and take it off right now. You did nothing wrong. How were you going to disclose rape at 5? At 10, what were you going to say happened? What were you going to say happened? Your language got updated. You know now it was unacceptable. And you can use your new language to tell your story. It's not expired. It was your lived experience. It's still there. And in most instances, in cases of children, they were actually bidding for protection of their family system. It was an uncle, a cousin, a stepdad, someone that was previously very instrumental to their family functioning. And the little touch on your boob seemed like it's not enough to cause the catastrophe that it will cause in the family when you tell people. Low-key, you kept that family intact. The peace that everybody enjoyed because of your silence was generous and kind, strategic and thoughtful for someone that was 5. The threat that they made, that I'm going to deny it, that I'm going to say you did the XYZ, the 2 rand that they gave you, you were a child. You believed them. They were an adult, as you should have. There's no reason to feel guilty because you didn't disclose. There's no reason to feel guilty because they isolated you specifically. Odds of being raped increased because a rapist was around. That's the only reason. Should anyone else been in your company and they weren't rapists, it wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened. And the last part about guilt that I want to address is the guilt that you're taking too long to get over it. There's no right or wrong way to recover from trauma. It looks like this. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like. You have these days where you feel like you've given yourself a new definition, you are intact, you are happy, you've got a good outlook on life, you've renegotiated trust and safety in the world, and it's fine. It's just a part of your experiences. And then tomorrow it looks like feeling dirty. It looks like wanting to cut yourself so the bed can come out. It looks like they've deposited something inside of you that you can never rid. And it looks like you want to destroy it. So it looks like putting alcohol in your body and drugs in your body, anything to numb it and dispel it and make it come out. It looked like flashbacks that play like TV and that bring back the sensation of how it felt. And then it confuses it with the new sensation that, okay, I enjoy sex, but then while I enjoyed the sex, I had that flashback. Does that mean I enjoyed the flashback? This is what it looks like. This is what recovery from trauma looks like. So if it looks like that, that is the true picture. You're not failing at recovery. There's no gold merit for how you untangle the broken pieces of the puzzle that the rape shattered. You pick one up and you try and put it somewhere. You pick up another and you try and put it somewhere. Then you pick up another one. And then you see it doesn't quite fit there. And some of them are permanently gone. So the puzzle doesn't even look like it can ever go back to the way that it was before. And in such instances, we color it in. We meet new people. They brought us a new picture. It's not the one we had before, but we put something there. We take paint and we sketch what we want because that piece that was there is gone. Can't be a virgin anymore. But I can't be a virgin, but I can be this. That's what it looks like. A renegotiation of a responsibility that didn't even belong to you. You're doing the absolute best that you can for a task you don't even deserve. So if you're showing up for it, although it wasn't your responsibility, you're doing a bloody stunning job. Did you drink in between? I'd rather have you drunk than dead. Did you go and dig? You know, it even leads to you almost wanting to take your power back by choosing who then to sleep with. And then you sleep with everyone. Because if you're anyway going to take it, can you at least do it with my permission? And then you have people that, you know, turn so hypersexual that I will screw whatever moves. They're taking their power back. You don't get to judge that. They're from the stands of privilege. You don't get to. How they negotiate, how do I claim back that which you took from me? You don't get to tell them that promiscuity isn't that way. In fact, you don't get to weigh in this dialogue at all if you're not sitting in the empathy stance. It's an attempt to try a new way of being, and it's okay if they try the wrong one for your size. And I encourage you to seek psychotherapy. It takes this exceptionally talented and skilled person, and they hold your hand, and you learn how to be you again. And of course, if you're learning how to walk this love walk, you're going to stagger, you're going to fall, you're going to completely stuff it up. And what this person does is say, one more step. You take one and you're a bit off balance. You know, and you go off ramp and you go do drugs. And you go off ramp and you maybe go prostitute a little bit. You come back and cry and say, I got it wrong. That wasn't the step. And this person says, one more. You take the detour, pick the wrong career, date the wrong guy because you think they're safe. No, they're not going to hurt me. They have got a car and whatever. They look like security. And you figure it out that I was wrong again. And the therapist says, one more. And you see that I'm holding steady. I think I can do it on my own. The flashbacks are less. I'm not avoiding it as much. I generally feel safe. Another one. It's vigilance. It's panic attacks, it's irritability, your mood is up and down, your concentration is haywire because your good memories of studies are also filled with the bad memories from the trauma, and you're failing at school, and the therapist says, one more. And before you know it, after an undefined period, you're out of the hole. That's what the recovery looks like. A staggering attempt to be steady after somebody paralyzed you. And you're learning to walk again. Doesn't have to be straight, doesn't have to be stable. Just has to be consistent. One more. Just one more step is what recovery from trauma looks like. Can never be covered in 20 minutes in a YouTube video, and guilt is just one part of it. But to sum it, all you have to do is stay alive. Are you sober? Maybe not. Have you got a good grip on the moral compass? Maybe not. Are you psychologically well? Maybe not. Are you alive? That's the one. Because if you're alive, then you can keep taking one more step. One more step. One more step. Sideways, sideways. One more. That's how we do. We will visit trauma so many times on the channel, different parts of it. And I hope this releases you from the guilt that I'm not doing it right, from the questions of will I ever be okay? What does the channel name say? You okay? You okay? Tingo, say hi to the people. You okay? You really are. And I can't give you a physical hug, but I'll give you a virtual hug. You're doing a good job. You really are. And I hope you stay alive to take some of your power back. And you don't have to know how to. That's what loved ones are there for, to help you figure it out. You're okay. You were always okay. And we'll remind you when you start to forget. See you next Tuesday.